Jose, this is your floor now.
Yeah, thank you, Mariana. Thank you, APP, for...
Şöyle sesimi duyamıyorum. Şimdi duyuyorum zaten. Kulaklıksız olmuyor.
May I ask you to mute yourselves?
Bakarım.
Or maybe you, Lina or Mariana, could mute? Okay.
Yes, we are doing that.
Thank you. As I said, thank you, Mariana. Thank you, EPP, for inviting me to be the moderator today. And welcome everybody to the APP Dynamic Talks. So, yeah, this is the second session. We will cover today how to successfully drive your pricing and promotion strategy for consumer goods. But there are a couple of additional sessions next week that I invite you all to join. Because, yeah, definitely you will. Those sessions are really enriching for all of us. So today, as I said, we are going to cover how to successfully drive a pricing and promotion strategy for consumer goods. Today, the presenters will be Thomas Walter, Global Revenue Growth Management Director at BEL Group, and Ji-Hoon Dierckx, founder and CEO of PricingOne. And today, the topics that we are going to cover, yeah, there are pretty few of them and quite interesting. So we are going to cover which is the role of revenue growth management in order to capture which are the new consumer behaviors, distribution, economic trends, and how to extract maximum value among different channels in this distribution industry, and how beyond strategies and analytics, how can we understand the importance of engaging internal and external stakeholders in order to make sure that any kind of pricing project is able to deliver all the improvement, all the value that was expected to. So during the session, I would like to ask you to send through this chat box that you will see on the right. Please send all your questions. I will take note of them, and then I will pass those questions directly to Thomas and to Ji-Hoon once they finish their presentation. But as I said, let's try to make this session as interactive as possible, because I believe that beyond all the best practices and expertise that we will, for sure, definitely learn from Thomas and Ji-Hoon presentations, the exchange of insights and ideas among the whole community, all the attendees, would be really valuable for all of us. So with no more hesitations, please, Ji-Hoon, Thomas, the stage is yours.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. So while Thomas will start showing the slides, hello everyone, thanks for joining us today. A big thanks to EPP for hosting this exciting session, and thanks for Jose for the intro. My name is Ji-Hoon Dierckx. I am the founder and CEO of PricingOne. We are a pricing and revenue growth management consulting firm specialized in consumer goods, so FMCG, CPG, and luxury goods. Before that, I spent 20 years at Procter & Gamble, where I personally brought a genuine consumer-centric, value-based approach to pricing and RGM. And I had the chance to bring this into all P&G categories and across every continent and practice it. And thereafter, we established PricingOne a few years ago, and we are very happy, Thomas and myself, to share our work, learning experience at BEL Group, where we are driving RGM pricing and promotion strategy. Thomas, please introduce yourself.
Yes, sure, Ji-Hoon, with pleasure. So I'm Thomas Walter, and I am Global RGM Director for BEL Group, in charge of the Revenue Growth Management Transformation Plan. I hope you all see my screen. Ji-Hoon, can you confirm that everyone is seeing my screen? Yeah,
Yes,
okay,
we
perfect.
can.
Perfect. So as you know it, let's say RGM theory and tools are quite available on the market, but probably mainly used by large companies. So for me, and this is the topic of the day, the current challenges of the RGM are for company of the size of BEL to transform themselves to access to this knowledge, to this expertise, to first design relevant RGM plans, and above all, success in carrying them with our distribution partner. So in the next few minutes, I will, with Ji-Hoon, therefore share with you guys what was our strategy to transform BEL and what are, let's say, the critical points that must be fixed. So in this story, it all starts with this scope. Let's call her Marguerite, and just to illustrate that, is for all manufacturers, the raw material is a hot topic. They buy them according to their needs. And this is a huge difference at BEL, because at BEL, we buy milk, and we buy all the milk produced by Marguerite every day at a fixed price agreed in advance for 1 year. So meaning that we have a very, very specific relationship to raw material, which has led us to historically have a very strong volume culture. Okay. On top of this raw material topic, and for several years now, BEL as a family business company has been very committed to a very proactive CSR approach. So what I have in mind here is that upstream, this policy has led us to considerably revalue the price of the milk with our farmer first. And we also massively invest in carbon-free production and develop healthier recipe and more eco-friendly packaging. And that being said, these three actions had obviously had a negative short-term impact on our company's margin, an impact that we must compensate to guarantee the sustainability of our company on a long-term trend. So the easiest way to regain margin would have been to increase our prices sharply and quickly to the consumer, as the most efficient lever for profit is pricing. Ji-Hoon, you want to comment maybe?
Yes, and that's very logically, everyone knows that pricing has a tremendous impact on operating profit. And this is naturally the adjustment variable a company like BEL would think about. So they are ready, or they were ready for some pricing thinking and actions. And actually, that's why we are showing this gentleman. So he's the previous CEO of Polaroid. Pricing, he was saying that pricing is the most talked about and the least understood of all marketing levers. And every word of this sentence are important. I think that you can move to the next slide. So pricing is key because it brings so much impact on bottom line. And the dream is to have analytical teams and platforms solving it. While it is very much true for B2B or definitely yield management, is yes, a bit less the case for consumer goods, FMCG and CPG. So if we get back, step back 1 second, pricing is one of the 4 P's of marketing, together with the product, the place or the distribution and the promotion, advertising, communication. And that's the only one that generates revenue at the end. So all other costs, all other elements are actually costing something. And that's why Raymond Corey was summarizing that very well, saying that pricing is the moment of truth, as the fact that all the marketing comes to focus in the pricing decision. Why he's saying that is that pricing is actually the vehicle by which we capture the value we create among the consumers. And don't forget, there is an intermediary often, which is the customer or the retail customers, that actually that value that they place in the product. So at the end of the day, it's a double constraint optimization that we need to solve. On the one hand, how to optimize revenue and value capture, and how to create the most value and the most pricing power. At the end, what we are often saying is that pricing is extremely exciting and intellectually challenging because it's a bit like arts. It's not simple analytics, far from that. And that's true that I can mention, or maybe not here, many or several examples where people were believing that only simple analytics in the case of CPG would solve their issues in terms of pricing and revenue growth management, came to the understanding at the cost of at minimum business disasters or up to the end of their career. We were even talking that before the call with Thomas, with someone from another company. So it makes pricing so human, and we will come back to that in the course of the session. If pricing is human, so definitely will be RGM. So Thomas.
Thank you, Ji-Hoon. But as I am on the other side, and as an industrial, I have to let's say increase the pricing. And if pricing is the key, increase the pricing is not so easy, let's say, in the real world. So that being said, I think that this approach to price up shows several limits, especially in a context of pressure on prices. First of all, the consumer are themselves more and more informed and have a lot of choice. So they are very conscious of value and able to compare prices at least easily and rapidly. Then the price competition is more and more intense between retailer on shelf and promo prices, as they are very afraid to be depositionized versus their own competitor. There is a kind of echo, yeah. And this fear often comes to price war locally that we all know that destroy value. So, and finally, sorry, the negotiation power of manufacturers such as BEL in terms of size is, of course, limited. So, sorry, yeah. So, and anyway, to practice a sudden price increase and or a drastic reduction of promo at the end is a very bad idea to generate profit, because in that case, what you will do is just breaking your demand and your sales will be immediately collapsed. And at the end of the day, your profit will be destroyed. So our challenge is much more in reality to gradually and efficiently adapt our offer to consumer expectation. And I'm not talking here only about recipe or pack, but on pricing. And this is the key word. So in other words, we rely on RGM science to write plans that optimize the lineup in terms of pricing and sizing bracket, and as also optimize, let's say, the price point according to the elasticity and the consistent, I should say, inter-size discount, for example. This is for, let's say, the shelf, but it works also for promotional activity. We need to also optimize the promotion in terms of volume in deal, frequency, mechanics, percentage of discount, all that for better ROI. And once these plans have been written, of course, we need to implement them with our distribution partner to create a triple win, win for the company, win for the customer, and win for the consumer at the end in the store. So to do so, our strategy at BEL was the follow. First, as time is money, we bought knowledge externally to save time and gain efficiency. In fact, we needed external expertise to save time. Otherwise, the time you need to ramp up versus the inertia for an international group with all the people and all the process is quite long. So the idea is to subcontract to someone else, and we used this partnership with PricingOne to support us in pricing strategy design. The second axis of our strategy was a clear focus. We have designed a pricing strategy for BUs that leads us to reach a critical size to train the whole organization. So my advice here is not just to do a test and learn approach on a single business unit or a single level of the RGM, but to really drive a full RGM process across your company. And last but not least, we have learned a lot thanks to the PricingOne methodology. We feel that we have made the right diagnosis, identifying what is valuable for the consumer and how much we can monetize it at the maximum. But as the methodology is in the end of expert, I will give the screen back to Ji-Hoon on that part to deep dive in it.
Thanks a lot, Thomas. So back to, yes, pricing in RGM is an art. Why is an art? Because the end result is business results, so increase of net sales and margins. This is the art. This is the final piece. And you don't create art with dashboards and tools. You create art with the fact that work is being done and actions are being taken all across the chain. So it cannot be only a platform. It cannot be a blanket approach. It cannot be a complete organization redesign and change. In the case of in the time of COVID, teams are scarce and are focused on whatever they were doing before you arriving. So people have their ways of working, and a company culture exists, and which is very strong in the case of BEL. Our approach was that data models and detailed analytics are necessary, but were not sufficient in this case to drive quick turnaround. So the approach on the next slide is very much like you would approach a piece of art. The first is that while today we are driving this successfully across a dozen of markets, we started with 3, and we showcase business results. So we went through, we embarked the local teams that are, it's very human, as we said. So analytics is very universal, but the relevant consumer value is very local. The local teams of any group, as have done in the past, or have history of analysis and approach that are very relevant. So by showcase clear results and business understanding, reassure local GMs that you will take the specifics and local work into account, were the first case. We created the vibe throughout these successes that really turned around the first markets. Then we explained to all how we were doing that, to how to prevent mistakes or wrong decisions, and then we start practicing to entice confidence across teams, to build on the momentum that were created little by little, to show what kind of actions can actually easily come into current day-to-day work and ways of working, and finally prepare to leave after building finally systems and relevant tools to enable the teams to do the work that have been taught. But that's in that order that needs to things to be done, and we often see that people tend to do the exact opposite, which actually is not the way of working. So the way to increase net sales and sales margin and trade margin at the same time requires to do 3 things at the same time, holistically and end-to-end. So both words are important. Holistically, because you need to understand at the same time what drives consumer value in the category and market. What are the trends, how the consumers goes, because at the end of the day, you want to pay for your products. We are talking about CPG, B2C, mean FMCG, luxury goods. These are the consumers at the end. So how much pricing power are you able to create? Understanding the value that you are driving across the market. What is the position of your brand, or your products, your innovation, your features, you name it, the product experience or the boutique experience, depending, in order to maximize the pricing power. And at the same time, methodically, you need to understand how can you extract this pricing power and the value that you created across consumer and customer, across, like Thomas said, pack price architecture, consumer shelf pricing, promotion, mix assortment, and commercial plans. So if we go in more details in each, what we actually went through is this kind of approach. So you see it's holistic and end-to-end at the same time. If we take first the pack price architecture, we need to understand how are the drivers, how the trends of the markets on the different channels we are talking about, if it is I mean, GFS or e-com, where you are, where you play, where your competition plays, in order to fill your gaps. It is especially in the time of COVID. If you read the past, you will only reapply the past, or actually it's totally irrelevant in most of the case for the moment, especially in food. So we need also to understand how some projectivity of the market, of what is smart to be done in terms of portfolio architecture, innovation, communication, enhanced pricing that goes with it. And people talk about pricing the whole day, but actually pricing, it's not a number, it's not a curve, it's not a line, nothing like that exists, not even in the universe. Pricing is this kind of non-linear lines like you can see. You need to understand your plateaus, your corridor, your cliffs, your killer prices. Price is not there, and you are not doing your brand building in order to drive or just market share or nice brand. It's actually to make money, top and bottom line. So everything you do, every single thing you do is to maximize either your net sales or margin, trade or sales. There must be a logic in the way you approach intersite discount or actually discount slopes across pack sizes. And you need to understand in terms of mix. People understand a lot of brand or SKU mix. Actually, before that, you need to understand the mix of your vector of growth of your top and bottom line across consumer drivers of growth, brands, go-to-market, and vis-a-vis competition, and play on it. You play on it by maximizing your mix, and this is usually the most consistent short term that we see across channel, retailers, brands, items, and of course down to SKU, where at the same time you can optimize your SKU productivity or reduce the complexity of your portfolio, which is a true win-win-win in terms of supply chain and customer management. Then you can go to, and in that order, you can go to promotion effectiveness. You don't do promo just to gain a better ROI, otherwise you will not do promo. You do promo as one of the P of marketing mix. You do promo to push your brand strategy that you have defined beforehand and not in isolation. You help your pricing strategy with some promo activations and given the trend of the market. But you need to do that in a very effective way, understanding the promo role, the optimal drivers of the promotion. And this is still analytics. You need to translate this analytics, which we are doing with BEL, into a holistic, detailed promo guidance and plan that is understandable and accessible by any commercial teams, because that's there that it plays. I mean, remember, pricing is very human. And that's the last mile that is so much important, that you will go and translate this into a true understand concrete, tangible plan, commercial plan that you will, of course, do by retail customers. Understanding what is needed for your partner, because at the end of the day, it's a partnership. But what is the SKU level plan and how to maximize in a win-win-win approach, net sales, sales margin, trade margin. And so that's, and the plan, how does it look? So the end result of it is, as next slide shows, a specific, easy to understand, easy to grasp, ranked order by priority. Of course, we did hide the numbers and actually any information on what to be done in that country for that brand in that customer. And you see it's even a portfolio of brand if you have more than one, ranked order by size and opportunities and trackable. And so that's what Thomas can witness that we are working on. Thomas, you wanted to say a word on that one?
Yeah, as Ji-Hoon just mentioned, outcomes has to be very specific, sizable, and activable to move from the design to the execution phase by the local teams. Otherwise, that makes any sense if it's fluffy. So once you have designed the pricing strategy, once you have passed the step of the design, then comes the execution part. And I suggest now to move on and to see how we have make it work at BEL. So to implement these plans, for me, it's essential to change the internal culture as quickly and as widely as possible. Basically, I'm talking here about change management. And the critical point for me, as my experience show it in this transformation plan, first, you need to have a full top management support. As this is a cultural change and a long-term journey, RGM transformation should be sponsorized and led by top management. This is the first point. The second one is that you need to be crystal clear with all the teams on what are your new ways of working expectation. What is the role of each people locally, at global level, at marketing, inside the sales team, and so on. And you also need to raise up the capabilities. And for me, this is probably one or maybe the key enabler at the end, because as this is a cultural change, capabilities are just one of the most critical points to fix. And we achieved that point thanks to an ambitious, not only thanks to that, but at least thanks to an ambitious and large training courses for BEL teams. In 6 months, we will train 1,400 people, 1,400 people, which is nearly half of BEL employees, excluding the sales forces and the people in the plant. So it's very, very large training. And these training courses goes from teaching the basic of finance to very concrete e-learning on the design, the commercialization, and the tracking of our RGM plans. It is also essential for me to have local relay in BUs because they have the right profile, and this is also a very important topic, will support the RGM transformation locally. And of course, because you need to show to the organization that it works, you need to create a kind of share and reapply culture to show what it works, to show that it works, sorry, and to train also the whole organization by showing the wins, the quick wins and the midterm wins as well. That's for the internal part. For the external part, I mean, with our retail partner, there you must jointly succeed in breaking out of let's say an exclusively transactional relationship. This means helping the retail to create value or to discuss more about value than pricing, and to create structured and robust growth plans. And to do so, as I've just mentioned, it's not only negotiating prices or counterpart, but build a real consumer-centric value creation plan on assortment, pricing, and promotion promotion activation. Of course, on that part, as this is the keystone of our approach, you will understand that I will not you to tell much more about it, but let's say that the general idea is to show that we can grow together with our retail partner, the category, and sorry, yeah, we can grow together the category and our turnover in a common and profitable way. The idea is to create a triple win for the shopper because he's enjoying all our good ranges, for the retailer and for BEL as well. And of course, this is not easy because we all know the retail, and the retail is historically very oriented on purchasing and on transactional relationship to have the best shelf price in store, of course. But honestly, and this is my own perspective, but I feel that more than ever, it is time to change this approach, as we see that there is always be someone cheaper or with a bigger volume in deal, and we all know that this way to do the business is not sustainable on the long term. So to conclude, I would say that more broadly, a whole ecosystem remains to be democratized. And to do this, we all need, as the RGM community, to preach the good word on RGM and on valorization, more generally speaking, from business school to train future manager to retail partners, and also into, of course, professional forums such as the European pricing platform, with the ultimate ambition to create sustainable long-term value for the three C's that matters, the consumer, the customer, and our companies. And that's it. So thank you for listening. Maybe time to question.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Ji-Hoon. So please, for all the audience, please remember that you can send all your questions through the chat, and I will then pass the questions to Thomas and to Ji-Hoon. Okay. But hey, while we are collecting those questions, I would like to raise a few ones for you, because I have collecting some thoughts, some ideas during your presentation. Okay. So, well, I understand that you will not be able to share details, but is it working?
Good one.
Your
Honestly,
revenue, your profitability?
Yeah. Well, it is early to say. For the result, we in fact only started the pricing strategy with let's say a few months ago, and we all know that this kind of implementation takes time. But even if we are at the beginning of the journey, I see very good reflex amongst local team and global one. So I'm very confident, because I see that people are on the move. Of course, it's not delivering completely yet, but I see that we already start to have now good reflex when it comes to RGM and pricing strategy as the pillar, as the base, I should say, of the revenue for tomorrow. So I'm very impatient, of course, as my top management, but I'm very confident that we will reach our goals in let's say a few months or maybe later. And I also have to say that even if it's quite, let's say, early to have a very firm appreciation of the result, I also see in different countries that we are starting to have some quick wins with some retailers. So honestly, as I just mentioned, I'm very confident, because we expect a lot, as you can of course imagine. I see that we have the reflex, and I see that it comes to have also good quick wins with retailer among the country. So honestly, I cannot completely answer your question, but you can see my smile.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Hey, there is a question. How are you merging your brand strategy with your revenue growth management strategy?
That's a good one. In fact, I would say that there is two parts here. There is the value extraction on the market, as June shows it, and there is the value creation. And the link is probably on the product itself. The product is let's say the link between the extraction and the creation of value. So the global brand are very involved in the process of value creation, and they share this value creation inside the product. And then it comes to sales team to sell the product efficiently, thanks to the 5 levers mentioned by Ji-Hoon in the presentation.
Yes, exactly, because that's true that some, at the same time, some people envy yield management or the Uber and Spotify of the world with absolute dynamic pricing real time. This is not something that can be done for FMCG or CPG, but definitely not for FMCG. If you have one pricing window per year, so this is not very dynamic. But what is dynamic is the infinite possibilities in terms of pack price architecture and related innovation. So the link is very much like I was saying in the 15 intervention charts. The pack price architecture, you understand what is there to play, where your revenue top and bottom line could grow, and act upon it in terms of slight positioning, communication, and definitely innovation and innovations change that you can bring infinitely. And this is the FMCG. Yeah, sorry.
And it's also very important to transfer the knowledge that you get from the local pricing strategy to the global brand. Like this, they can understand what is let's say, what they can monetize in their products and at which level in terms of price. So the knowledge goes from the local to the global and the global to the local as well.
Okay, thank you. So there is a question from Merahja. Hey, maybe you would like to raise your question directly? The one related to what if scenarios?
Hello, yeah, am I audible? This is me, Raj.
Hello.
We hear
Hi.
you well.
I'm audible? Hello.
Hello, please go ahead.
Okay, thanks, Thomas and Ji-Hoon. It was really very interesting. A lot of points are really interesting, and listening them from experts is very enriching. So basically, there is one situation that we always face in the revenue environment and pricing environment. A lot of questions regarding what if, and these questions doesn't come only from our peer departments like product, marketing, finance, and all. It also comes from the top management. Sometimes it's challenging to show the top management that these decisions are perfect based on the market that we are, based in the conditions that we are, and these are the perfect decisions, and they would end up at the right results for the company. So how usually or how important it is for us to all the time do the A/B testing on the pricing decisions that we make?
Ji-Hoon, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, I think that there are several questions in the same question. Then please, Thomas, add. First of all, the top management engagement. Definitely, the top management engagement is crucial. Starting or at the same time at global headquarters and locally. As I was saying, part of the art is to translate extremely complex data science and pricing analytics into something very tangible and that speaks to top management. So that is the core of the core of the core. Otherwise, there will be no traction, or worst case scenario, even misunderstanding and then wrong actions thereafter. The second one is that in terms of A/B testing, yes, you could do A/B testing. It's always tricky. If you do more than a dozen markets and you want quick and fast results, you will need first to understand what are your opportunities, which that's actually would be the core. There is no A/B testing needed if the teams and commercial teams are not engaged in the approach. So they need results for this. So we are focusing on that, training them, showing them, practicing with them. A/B testing is not excluded in some cases, but that will take a lot of time versus the pace and the timing that a company like BEL would require. The A/B testing would be in specific circumstances. I think that we thought about one in one of the market, but that will not be the that will be more the exception rather than the rule. Thomas, you want to add something?
No. Honestly, I didn't have the point regarding the top management because they are involved since the beginning of the journey of RGM. So there's no need to convince them on the utility of the RGM for BEL. I'm lucky there. But you know what? To answer your question, maybe what I can say is it's also very important to share with the management all the roadblocks that you may have. When I said that you need to be sponsorized, that doesn't mean that you just say, I want to do RGM and then do your life. That means that you need to share on a regular basis with them what you are doing, if it's working or not, what are your roadblocks, and all you need your help. And honestly, I sometimes knock at the door of the top management saying there is a roadblock, and unfortunately, I cannot fix it alone, and I need your support there. And this is also a way to engage them all along the journey and not only at the beginning, given a clear direction.
Okay.
Thanks. Great. Very helpful.
Thank you. Juan Jardón, I think you've got a question.
Yes, can you hear me, Jose?
Yes,
First
we can.
of all, let me thank Thomas and Ji-Hoon for this excellent presentation. My question is, what is the most straightforward way to identify the value perceived and the willingness to pay of the client? And in case of BEL, the consumer, the shopper. Do you have an answer for that? How do you identify this perceived value and willingness to pay? Thank you very much.
The question is for the expert in that case.
So definitely the answer is in the numbers. Again, it is a mix, and that is actually one of the key points. Thanks for raising that. People who believe only in ongoing historical analytics would not see the stretch and the limits of what the pricing power could be among the consumers, because you will only see what you have already done, which for BEL and for many has been a bit of the same for ages. So it's a subtle mix of historical data and data analytics, as well as consumer projective modeling that you need to mix together, and which extracts consumer value. Consumer value is not consumer and brand equity, so it's different, and pricing power, based on which you can identify the opportunities on current products, and we said it in the beginning, in terms of innovation or new items or whatever new pack or sizes that you could bring on the market.
Thank you, Ji-Hoon.
Thank you. Ilya, I think you've got a question to Thomas regarding the investment. Would you like to raise this question directly?
Let me see if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh.
No, that's not my kids. So I believe the question is coming from the fact that the size of my company is comparable to the size of BEL, and out of curiosity, it seems like you're doing this in a proper way. I'm not sure if the cost dimension was discussed heavily once you decided to go in a professional way towards pricing. And my question is, what is the cost dimension that would cost you to run this transformation?
Tough to give you the figure there, as this is quite confidential.
Not the dimension of the cost. We can end up with like how many zeros?
A lot. Now, you know what? I'm sorry to say that, but I think that this is not the right question. The question is about the profitability, the return on investment, as this is an investment at the end of the day, because this is an investment in people, this is an investment in times, this is an investment on energy, and this is an outside investment when you have a partner like we had with Ji-Hoon and the team of PricingOne. So the key question is not how much does it cost. The question is what is the amount of money that you expect to have thanks to this action. And even if I can find the cost quite important, let's say it like that, and I won't give you the number of zero, but I cannot say that this is cheap, and this is let's say I mean this amount has to be validated at high level. Like this, you have a part of the answer. The key question is much more how much do you expect to gain, and are you gaining in reality? And on that point, I have to say that the opportunities that we have detected are already more or less 3 times bigger as the cost of the project. So I'm quite comfortable. invest that money, because I know that this is a good investment on the long term. I don't know if it's answering your question, but
no, it doesn't. But thanks for that.
But you understand why.
Surely, it's all about return on investment. I agree.
No, but you know what? You have to do the. I mean, if you have a question about the cost, then cost it, and surface the amount of money that you can have as a return, as a payback, and then comes the question of should you go or not.
You went through the deep diagnosis, or your diagnostic was showing you the potential value that you identified before investing. That was the approach, as far as I understood.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Yes, and the fact that we started, as I said, in a few markets, 3 to be exact, very different, and together with the local teams, it was very clear that it was bringing them so much incremental value versus what they were ever doing, that actually Thomas got the sponsorship from all these markets in order to make it global. So we need to start with something. We start small, see, create the vibe, and go. No one would go on all across, and we, PricingOne, particularly focus on the profit ROI. We are talking about profit ROI here. Our effort generates, so versus tools or just systems.
And to highlight that point, because this is for me a crucial point. Even if you have very good plans in terms of design, the key question then is execution. So that being saying that, what I mean is you have the amount, but this is ops amount. Then the key success factor is how do you move this amount to reality? How do you transform the ops that you have detected thanks to Ji-Hoon and PricingOne methodology to concrete action, and you implement them in the market with your retail partner? So you have 3 gates. You have the design, you have the execution, and you have the tracking of the plans.
Thank you very much. So we've got another question from Anna Tatsu. Would you like to raise your question directly, Anna? Okay, I will raise the question.
If I find, sorry, I was just, I'm not used to this tool, so I was searching for the unmute button.
No problem.
Thank you very much. It was really interesting. What I am struggling, or for me, the question is, there have been so many departments involved, and of course, it's always the case. And so, what would you say at this point? Who was most important to be convinced of this project? So where would you start, and would you start? Yeah, of course, it's important to start everywhere at the same time, but who is crucial in your opinion? Is it sales? Is it the retailers? Is it top management?
That's difficult to answer that question, because everyone has a role to play. Maybe not at the same time, maybe not all at the same moment of the journey. You cannot design a price pack architecture without marketing. You cannot execute without sales key account team. You cannot do your pricing strategy if you don't discuss and apply it with your retail partner. So at the end of the day, there is no one more important than the other. I mean, even the HR are important in the process to recruit the right profile to apply RGM on a local basis. Legal is also important, because there is some rule to discuss about pricing with the retailer outside the company. So at the end, I cannot tell you that people are more important. Everyone is important in the process, and everyone has a role to play. This is definitely a cross-functional teamwork. So everyone has to be involved. Everyone has to be involved at the beginning, at the same time, even if just after that, then you have priority to design, priority to execute, depending on where you are. That's also why we have decided to do this very wide training to onboard everyone at the same time, and doing it in 6 months is quite a challenge, believe me. But we really need to onboard everyone at the same time in order that we want to avoid that for some people inside the company, 6 months after the beginning of the journey, people think that RGM means I'm expecting Roland Garros in May, you see?
Yeah.
And,
And one question in addition, have you in the end some retailers who are still not convinced? Because there are some people, of course, everywhere, like we have always done it like this and we know it better, or with best practices, you convinced the latecomers as well?
Honestly, I cannot give you any name, but I'm quite surprised about the reaction of some retailers that are usually very focused on pricing and their ability to discuss about a value creation plan. And the RGM is also very useful to, let's say, to have a new platform of discussion with some retailer that you are struggling with for a few years ago. Honestly, I think that we have, can I say that? If I was a retailer, okay, I have this history behind me, which is pricing. And honestly, I think that we all know that this is one of the key for the retail, definitely, but not the only one. And you can see on the market that some retailers are very active on pricing and they have an increase of their market share. Okay, fair point. But you also can see that some others that are not the cheaper or the cheapest retailer are gaining market share as well. And not only thanks to their pricing, but thanks to their value creation plan, thanks to the right assortment or maybe a different one sometime, thanks to some other promo activation, thanks to, let's say, different go-to-market or different communication also. So I am honestly very surprised to see that the distributor that I was expecting to say, I don't want to hear you on that because I'm very focused on pricing, they are in fact very attentive to this new platform of RGM. Does it answer your question?
Yeah. Yes. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And the reverse of this, and we saw that also in some markets. So when you have reversely, the pricing team that is only doing analytics and technology-based approach struggle if they are not surrounded by multifunctional effort. We see that with other clients. We saw that in one market at BEL. So this is the false dream of analytics will solve internally for the reason Thomas explained, and even vis-a-vis the retailers in terms of narrative, and even before to get there, before that, understanding what each care about and go with this, because there is always something else on price.
Right. And if I have to add something, I would say that what is important when it comes to retail execution or retail discussion, at least, is not to do it, only with your buyer face to face. It's also important to involve all the chains inside the retailer at top level as well. So it deserves probably a top-to-top meeting as well to convince not only the buyer that you have in front of you during the negotiation process, but also the whole organization of the retailer. Because sometimes you can have someone who is very convinced to discuss about RGM and value creation plan, but at the end, he also has to convince his own management. And it's very important to onboard everyone, all departments. As you are working with all departments internally, then you need to convince all departments externally, also the marketing of the retailer, the purchasing of the retailer, the supply sometimes of the retailer, as this is a whole journey and a whole process for everyone.
So we see, I like this discussion very much, and I say thanks for this. And it really exemplifies what in the books we see as the triple win across the retailer, the manufacturer, and the shopper, the one who pays. This is really that we are living, Thomas and myself. Thanks. the question.
Yeah, thank you very much, Anna. So there is one more question from Andres. Andres, would you like to raise your question directly? Maybe I can make the question directly, okay? So the question is related to, well, I will, okay? So there is a constant discrepancy on under which department should revenue management fall. Finance, marketing, be independent. We know for it, we know that in order for this to work, it should be cross-department, it should be a cross-department effort. But what is your experience, Thomas? Because they are still debating for the last 5 years.
And it could be a long debate. Honestly, I think that at the end, you need to have one SPOC on RGM at global level and in local business unit. Then comes the question of where should be that SPOC? And you just mentioned finance, category management, key account, or finance. What we see is even, let's answer like this maybe. First of all, for me, it's not a question of is it belong to marketing, is it belong to sales or to finance. The question is that you need to find the right profile. It is someone who is able to think about a plan, able to manage it on Excel, and explain it to key account, which is sometimes difficult to find. I admit that. But so for me, it's not a question of hierarchy. It's much more a question of profiling first. And yeah, basically it's a question of profiling. Let's say it like this. For me, it's a question of profiling. What we see is where it works the better is when you have maybe one SPOC and that the SPOC is managing informally a team composed of then behind him marketing SPOC, finance SPOC, and key account SPOC when he's in a strategic and planning, or someone who is in marketing but who is managing the other function behind him. So even if you have one SPOC, then first, to answer your question in a very sharp way, first profiling, and two, the ability of this profile to manage informally a kind of local community behind or across him.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you very much. So I think we have covered all the questions from the audience. I hope I haven't missed anyone. So yeah, I would like to finalize. Thank you again, Mariana and APP for organizing this, and of course, to you, Thomas and Ji-Hoon, for sharing with us your experience in this amazing and incredible project. Thank you very much, and good luck with that.
Thanks a lot
Jose,
for the invitation.
Jose, just one second. We missed one question from Ashley.
Oh.
Hello, Ashley. Would you like to comment?
Ashley,
But sorry for the background noise because there are kids in the room. So sorry for the background noise. But I just want to ask you, okay, how you are managing your future planning? Because I know I'm a revenue manager actually, and I know it's really important to plan your future, to predict actually the future. Predict the market growth sizes, competitor reactions, competitor actions. So how we are managing that?
Ji-Hoon, you want to answer thanks to analytics, probably?
Yes. So
the question is, do you have a crystal ball, Ji-Hoon?
So we didn't go. It was not exactly the core of the question. But we definitely have many projective models. Otherwise, that's true. I mean, in terms of planning, it would not work. So we have even immediate quick wins, short-term, mid-term, long-term actions. Each team is being delivered with a dynamic simulator up to by retailer level, so that we can understand and calculate the effectiveness of each activity. So that's what they do for short term. And we talked about innovations and fill the gaps of backwards architecture. This is midterm or possibly a bit longer term, or even identification of new things. So there is a ton of a pile of actions from immediate to more midterm that goes through with the quantification of that. If there is a tricky case, we have some more exotic markets where we complement this with market growth forecasts in order to see where the market is trending or if there are some external factors impacting the predictions. So definitely, yes, this is a must-have in how you would approach things. By the way, in some other case, not necessarily with BEL, it helps find a win-win between the customers and the manufacturer, guiding where the market is trending.
Thank you so much.
That was your question.
Okay.
So thank you again. I'm sorry, Ashley, for missing your question among all the ones that the audience has raised. So as I said, thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Ji-Hoon. Thank you all of you for attending this session, and see you in the next one next week.
Thank you all. Thank you for the invitation. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.